Okay, today we are diving into the wild story of RaveDAO. This was a crypto project that promised to completely change the music festival world. But instead, it delivered one of the most incredible, most spectacular crashes of 2026. Let's get right into it.
So picture this. It's April 18th, 2026. The Rave token is absolutely flying. It's on top of the world, hitting its all-time high of $27.88. The hype was just palpable.
And then, just 5 days later, the party was well and truly over. The price didn't just dip, it completely collapsed, plummeting all the way down to 99 cents. I mean, billions of dollars in value just vanished. Gone. So yeah, that leads us to the big question, right? How on earth does something like this happen? Was it just a market panic? Was there a fatal flaw in the project? Or was it something much more deliberate? To get to the bottom of it, we first have to understand why everyone was so excited in the first place. You see, before this massive crash, RaveDAO had this incredible vision. It wasn't just another crypto coin floating around in cyberspace. No, this was supposed to be a movement, aiming to fuse the raw energy of live music festivals with the cutting-edge tech of Web3. The whole idea, the core concept, was to build a decentralized, community-owned version of a global event company. Think of it like a Live Nation, but owned and run by the fans themselves. They wanted to use these awesome real-world events to pull millions of music lovers into the world of crypto. And you have to admit, the pitch was super compelling. They were already putting on sold-out events with huge DJs. If you went, you got an NFT as a sort of digital ticket stub. They even had a philanthropic arm called Rave for Light. And holding the Rave token actually gave you real perks. We're talking VIP access, voting rights on who should perform, and even the ability to license the brand and host your own events. And they were not thinking small. Their ambitions were huge. The roadmap laid out this plan for total global domination, right? Expanding to major cities like Hong Kong, LA, and New York in 2026, scaling to over 300,000 attendees by 2027, and eventually moving beyond music into gaming and sports. It was this vision of massive, explosive growth, and investors were absolutely buying it. But, and there's always a but, behind this really exciting vision, there were some critical warning signs. And you didn't need to be a psychic to see them. Nope. You just had to look at the data right there on the blockchain, that public ledger where every single crypto transaction is recorded for anyone to see. Now this is probably the biggest red flag of them all. On-chain data showed that a truly staggering 90% of the entire Rave supply was held in just 3 digital wallets. Think about that. That's not decentralized. That is the exact opposite. A tiny handful of insiders had almost complete control. But as bad as that was, that insane concentration of ownership wasn't the only problem. Nope. There was another, slightly more subtle flaw hidden deep inside the project's structure. A flaw that, honestly, made it collapse like this almost inevitable. Okay, so this is what crypto analysts call the FDV gap. The market cap, so the value of all the tokens actually out there in trading, was around $245 million. But the fully diluted valuation, or FDV, that's the value if all 1 billion tokens were on the market, was almost $1 billion. That massive gap meant that over 75% of the total supply was held off market, just sitting there, creating this huge potential wave of selling pressure down the road. So with all these red flags just waiting, all it needed was a spark. And that spark came on April 14th, when a very well-known on-chain investigator, ZachXBT, dropped an absolute bombshell of an allegation that sent shockwaves through the whole community. ZachXBT came out and publicly accused the insiders of running a coordinated manipulation scheme. The allegation was simple. That incredible price surge wasn't real organic growth. It wasn't retail FOMO. It was an engineered event from start to finish. So what exactly is a pump and dump? Well, it's one of the oldest tricks in the book. A group of insiders with a lot of an asset artificially inflates the price. They pump it to create a ton of hype. Then, once outside investors start rushing in because they're afraid of missing out, the insiders dump all of their holdings onto them. The price crashes, and the regular folks are left holding worthless bags. And this breaks down exactly how the scheme allegedly worked. Step 1, the insiders accumulate over 90% of the supply for cheap. Step 2, they engineer the hype, pushing the price from pennies to over $27. Step 3, this, of course, attracts a flood of regular investors.
And finally, step 4, just as everyone else is buying in near the top, the insiders allegedly sell everything, which triggers that catastrophic collapse. As you can imagine, the fallout from these allegations was just immediate and completely chaotic. The price was in free fall, trust had totally evaporated, and everybody started pointing fingers.
The RaveDAO team put out a statement denying everything, saying they had nothing to do with it. But at the exact same time, major exchanges like Binance and BitGet launched their own official investigations. And on top of that, other on-chain analysts started confirming that, yeah, the data looked really consistent with manipulation. So you've got 3 totally different stories being told all at once.
So, what can we all learn from this mess? First, and this is so important, always check the tokenomics. If a few wallets hold most of the supply, that's a gigantic red flag. Second, be really careful of that FTV gap. A low number of tokens in circulation can be manipulated so easily. Third, and maybe this is the biggest one, hype is never a substitute for doing your own homework. And finally, this whole thing just proves that on-chain data is your best friend. It can show you all the risks that a project's glossy website will never, ever mention.
This story of RaveDAO is without a doubt a powerful cautionary tale. It's about the dangers hiding just beneath the surface of a good story and a rising price chart. And it really leaves us with a critical question to think about. In a market that so often runs on nothing but pure hype, what clues will you look for to tell the real projects apart from the traps?